he says something else. He says, Andalus is the first city in the European world to introduce this institution called public library. In any borough, in any area in London or in the UK, there has to be a GP, a clinic, and a public library. It's unfortunate that this is not the case today in, say, a lot of the Muslim Arab countries. Yes, there is a clinic, but not necessarily a public library. And usually when you go to public libraries, they are closed, or books are dusted, old books, out of date, so as to say to you, please, next time, don't come here. There, he says, the Dutch Orientalist, he says, public libraries in Andalus were everywhere. He says, Andalus by itself, and Andalus was a small city. Look at it in the map. During that time, he says, Andalus alone had 60 public libraries. And Grenada, he says, had about 70 public libraries. And then he compares them with the number of public libraries in Europe. And of course, there is no comparison. And this is an Orientalist. He's not a Muslim, or he's not myself. And then he says Andalus at that time had 30 million Muslims. So it was a proper urban city, 30 million Muslims. So for women to become known in Andalus was not easy. A, we are talking about a very big population, 30 million, and B, we are talking about a very educated population. So while I can tell you that X and Y knows how to write and read in Mecca, this is okay, this is a skill because there is a few number of population and the society is Bedouin. Here I'm talking about an urban society, educated society, modern society, and therefore it's not really an achievement to say this woman knows how to read and write. So I cannot mislead you now by introducing to you women and say she can read and write. You will say, stop, come on. According to Dozy, everyone could read and write. So there has to be something unique that women could do. I have two women. One have excelled in everything to do with religious sciences. This woman, I am sorry to say that no one knows her name. I found her in a book that was called Nisa al-Andalus, Women of Andalus. And the book is just about women in Andalus. And it's about names of scholars, names of even singers, names of poets, names of everyone who excelled in that society. It's like who is who in Andalus. You might not agree with everyone and what she did or used to do, but that's it. These were the notables of their time. This daughter of this well-known scholar who is called Faiz al-Qurtubi, or Faiz from Cordoba, she excelled in all sorts of knowledge, science of tafsir, language, lugha, the science of poetry, and she took all that from her father. So it's like the daughter of Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib. She also learned from her husband raqa'iq and fiqh, spiritualism and tasawwuf and fiqh. Sometimes a woman complains or sister complains that this is a patriarchal society. You are under the authority of your father. And then the father passes away, you are under the authority of your senior or junior brother. And then you get married, you are under the authority of your husband. The husband passes away, you are under the authority of your son. So we are always oppressed by these males, whoever, whatever the title. Maybe that's true. But maybe if you consider these as institutions, they will be institutions to you. So you can say, okay, it happens that I am the daughter of this father. What can I learn from this father? It happens that I am the wife of this husband. Now, what can I learn from this husband? And certainly, surely, he can teach you something. I'm not here talking about fiqh or hadith. I'm talking about this male that sometimes you feel you are not happy. He carries opportunities, he carries potentials that you can benefit from. I'm trying to make you look at things around you from a positive way, rather than you having this habit of perceiving everything to be negative. So this is an example of a woman who learned from her father, who got married and learned from her husband. And then, and this is what is fascinating, this is a mother, she has children, and I know that this is now, you will tell me, problematic. But I don't know how she managed to do it. Maybe she waited until they got married and then she was more freer to walk and go and travel. But this woman actually traveled a lot. I'm talking about a European woman, an Andalusian woman, not a Bedouin from the Middle East. No, she's a European Andalusian coming from a socially respected background. She utilized her position in Andalus and met all the scholars in Andalus. Would you do that? Would you go to London and utilize all the scholars? Or you will say, I would not listen from that scholar because he's a man of bid'ah. I will not listen to that scholar because he's a dodgy scholar. Then you will not learn anything. Stay at home and connect to this scholar through the internet, and that's it. Ya akhi, go. Or ya ukhti, go and travel and meet him. You might listen to something that is of use to you. So this woman, my point is that she went to all the dodgy scholars and all the decent scholars and all the scholars. And she met them and learned from them. And after utilizing all of them, she went outside Andalus and traveled to Granada. And she went to Dania. Dania is a city in Spain, populated by Muslims. She targeted a scholar that was based in Dania. So she traveled all the way from Andalus to Dania. When she arrived at Dania to meet the scholar, they said to her, "We are sorry, sister. This scholar passed away today." And sisters and brothers, this is a woman who did not come first class British Airways in a couple of hours. This is a woman who traveled months and months on the top of a camel to meet this scholar in Dania. So for her to hear the news that he is dead, but nonetheless, she's after knowledge. What did she do, this positive woman? She attended his janazah, and then she began to ask, who is the inheritor of his knowledge? Who is the carrier of his knowledge? They say to her, his carrier, his inheritor is a well-known student, faithful student. Do you know what she wanted? She wanted to know ilm al-qira'at, how to read the Quran in different qira'at. There are 7 qira'at, warsh and hafs, and so she wants to learn all the qira'at. When she arrived to Dania, he died. The scholar that was the master of the qira'at. She said, who inherited the knowledge? They said to her, his faithful student, Abu Dawood al-Balansi. You know why he's called Balansi? Because he's from Valencia. Valencia is another city in Spain. And these are like, look, European, Dania, Valencia. It's not like Baghdad, Cairo, Mecca, Medina. I'm talking about a European case for you here. So she went to Valencia. She's after knowledge. And then she mastered the 7 qira'at. And after that, she thought, enough of the West. I've been to Andalus, I've been to Valencia. Of course, all within Spain. She didn't think about Oxford and Cambridge and Harvard, because at that time, they didn't have enough public libraries. They didn't have enough people who could read and write. So where would she go? She would go to the eastern side. So she went to Hajj. But from Valencia to Hajj, she went and stopped into Cairo, Baghdad, Hims, Damascus, and you can see the route in the map. This is a route that is being taken by a woman traveler. A woman traveler, excuse me for saying this, who could be attacked and raped, who could be killed by muggers. A woman who was in the middle of the desert in the middle of the night. But she's going for that cause. I know that you might tell me that there were male guardians, I don't know. But I am saying that for a woman to be months and months and years outside from her household is something amazing. And she met all the scholars in these cities, and she died in Egypt, and she was buried in Egypt. It has nothing to do with Andalus anymore. This is the story of a fascinating woman.